Well, how are you? It's me. I'm live. I know I was supposed to be here last night, didn't make it. Internet problems, some storms or something were came through and messed it. And that happens not very often, thank God, but once in a while. And it usually happens when I'm asleep that they knock off because then I wake up and find out I have to reset everything. But okay, as you can see, well, let me move the mic for a minute. Hold on. There you go. That's Lucy. She's here. Of course, she doesn't appear to be too interested in doing a video with me today, uh, but she's around. So I wanted to talk about this story that I saw in Rolling Stone about this the drug cartel that's supposedly at Fort Bragg. Well, it's a lot of places. Um, Back during the Vietnam War, um, and I was in the getting ready to be drafted and everything, and I was in the National Guard. So it's about what I don't know, way back when, 67, I think it was 66 or 67 when I went in. I was 21 years old when I went in. When I went into basic, I'd been in for a year, so I was 20 years old or 19 or something because they were getting ready to draft me, and that's what I did. I joined the National Guard um, because I really didn't want to go to Vietnam because I had read a lot of stuff from some very intelligent people that just said this was not a winnable war. Not because I was afraid of getting shot at. I just didn't want to be part of a non-winnable war. That's all. Anyhow, there was a floating around um, that the heroin that was coming into the United States was coming from the Iron Triangle, which I can't remember exactly. It's China and Afghanistan and somebody else, I think. That's how it worked. And there's a pass through there that's extremely dangerous. It's controlled by warlords. And apparently, the CIA had made a deal with these warlords because they wanted that's how they got intelligence agents into China, and they were making the deal was that they would look the other way when they sold dope. Well, not only did they look the other way, they don't know how they did it, but they became one of the people controlling the passes, uh, that passed through there along with the other warlords. In other words, this CIA became a warlord dealing in drugs. That was a rumor. Now that's not that we didn't know anything about it, but the Iron Triangle was real. We knew, I knew enough about that to know that it was real, but I never heard anything confirming the CIA, but. I know a lot of people that made a lot of money during that period of time. So I kind of like could say, yeah, that sounds legit to me. Um, but that was way back when in the 60s, so I got out and I never heard about it again. But apparently it's going on now. And that doesn't surprise me because the CIA, before Kennedy decided that they couldn't participate and run operations in the United States, was going around offering LSD to college students to test them to see how it would work. Because they didn't really know that much about it, and they were using it to, not as a mind control drug, but they would tell these kids, especially a friend of mine had this happen, and I don't know whether it was CIA that was behind the deal, but he was offered it for his creative writing class that he was in. He said that could to expand his mind. Well, LSD expands your mind. I did it once, and it was enough for a lifetime. Trust me. It wasn't a bad trip or anything like that. It was just that I didn't need that subconscious release. My subconscious is a very dark place, and I like to keep it there. Anyhow, um, so I agree with this story. You know, uh, And then the story explains like how the Zetas started. The Zeta is it's a paramilitary cartel, and they are all well trained. A lot of them by the U.S. Army because they went in the Army and came out and went back to Mexico and did it. They're still doing that. Um, that was the rumor how the Zetas were getting these people so well trained and everything. They're well trained, disciplined, and everything else. But this goes a little further, saying that they were a unit that was developed by the Mexican government and used and was trained by Americans and then deserted, and became the Zetas. They're a very dangerous group of people. I don't know whether they're still a viable unit or they're just used because they were used as a hitmen and whatnot. They did some really atrocious things. Those heads of people that were cut off and left in the middle of the road or something. That time, 20 some odd people. That was supposedly the Zetas. Nobody's ever proven it, and I'm not going to tell you that's who it was. I don't know anybody in the Zetas. As to my knowledge, I've never met anybody that was in the Zetas, so I'm not going to, say anything about that. I've known a lot of bad people in my life, but not any of those. So most of my bad friends were in the Italian mafia. So I went to school with them. Yeah, I lived in New Jersey. Went to school with them. You learn those people over the years. My father had some dealings with them. Um, that's why apparently I ended up with bodyguards at one time. But not the Zetas, mafia, Italian mafia. Anyhow, takes care of that. Trump's in Scotland, pissing people off again. The American public's going to get a bill for $10 million for the trip and promoting his golf course. Uh, that goes along the lines of his uh, Bitcoin, where we could get really put on the hook for a lot of money as taxpayers. And what it is that when Bitcoin is, if you turn Bitcoin over as a national currency or something, that you understand that you're going to pay fees whether you like it or not. And down here we pay a lot of money to get you pay a lot of money to get your money out. I pay a lot in fees to transfer my money, out of the bank down here. Use it as cash. Um, it's actually better if I do that than I use my debit card to pay for things. It's a two-pronged thing. If I use a debit card, I don't pay the transaction fee of 28,000 pesos or something like that when I take it out, when I take money out of my bank, which is around $7 per withdrawal. I don't, but I don't, and I don't pay some transaction fees but not everybody takes the debit card, and I have to pay life insurance. I have to pay health insurance and everything else. They won't let me pay with a debit card. So my wife takes the money out, and the next thing I know, there's no money in the account. That's going to be straightened out soon. But it's I don't know. It's a strange situation. I mean, I don't want to be involved with Bitcoin. I wouldn't want to be because as a business, because every single penny of the transaction is visible. There's no taking a discount for cash or anything like that. That's not happening anymore. You know, a lot of places did that because they liked cash because cash was hideable. You could launder it someplace, and you could, that was the mob steal. You could do that. The mob uses that as a, so they don't want I don't know how the mob's going to launder their money. I'm sure they figured it out already because there are other countries that involved with Bitcoin. But Bitcoin for Trump's Bitcoin is a scam. It's to fuck you over really bad. And this is what I don't understand. With him, We all know he doesn't care about anybody except himself. We all understand. We understand that. Um, but now he's promoting all his businesses by being president. Um, that's not going to benefit him because he's only got a couple years left of life. Okay, based upon what I'm seeing, I don't think he's going to be around that much longer. Either am I. But uh, he's a narcissist. He's every bad thing you can possibly think of. He has absolutely no empathy for anybody, but yet people like him, and till they get screwed, and you get screwed. He's trying to develop a culture, or at least it looks like that on paper, that is two levels. Instead of having lower income, or actually, I think we have four in the United States. We have absolute poor, lower income. So no middle. Say we had the middle class and then the upper class. What he wants to do is have upper class and miserably poor, better known as slave labor. That's what he wants. And he must have watched a lot of the same movies I did because they're in the movies that way, And uh, it's disgusting to want to do that. We had a country that one of the reasons that we had a influx of people into this country was the fact that everything here was better than it was everywhere else. Now, he doesn't have to send these people back. The way he's destroying everything, all he has to do is wait. These people will leave on their own because there are countries in this world that are better off than us. You want to deport them, say, listen, where do you want to go? What he's doing is he's sending them to prisons in other countries. He's sending people that have not committed a crime, sends them to El Salvador. He puts them for months at a time, weeks, months at a time into the concentration camps he's built here, and they're worse than the detention camps for the Japanese during World War II. If they could be, they are. Um, those people at least had the opportunity to have kids. Their kids could join the military and go, fight their own people, the Japanese, or they could go to Germany and fight if they wanted to. This they can't do, And it was only the Japanese that happened to. It didn't happen to the Germans. German detention camps because half the people in the country are related to Germans. Our language comes from that part of the world. So I don't know what he's doing. His programs, some of them are going to benefit on a temporary basis. But should the economy blink in the wrong direction, Trump's policies will help destroy the economy. So long as the economy is headed in the right direction, Trump's policies, tariffs, and whatnot won't be that disastrous, I don't think. But you have to remember that these countries are going to go find or don't want to pay it, and they're going to look around and find out if they can find another way to get around it, or if they can not just put tariffs on stuff that we send to them, but if you can hear the noise in the background, that's my wife yelling into the phone about something, and I'm sorry if it shows up on the video. But what was I saying? Oh, okay. I don't know that Donald knows what he's doing. I mean, he's operated every business he's ever gotten into as if it was run by the mafia. He tears them down and sucks them dry and then bankrupts them. I mean, he did. There's a question he did that YouTube says he did it to 3 casinos. I only know of the Taj Mahal that he owned in Atlantic City. If he owns something else, I'm not aware of it because I never went there. I went to the Taj Mahal, and I've told people this. I've said it on my YouTube channel in the past, talking about him. That was one of the most depressing buildings I've ever been in my life. And a casino is not supposed to be depressing, you know. And now they're basically they make more money out of their sports book parlors than they do on the gaming tables because people bet everything, you know. And that's again, that's he hates the NFL, by the way, because they rejected him for a team. That's why he bought the USFL Generals. And Herschel Walker was his big star, and everybody thought they were going places. And he just ran that league right into the ground because he thought that would be a stepping stone into the NFL. But because of his association with gambling, he was denied that. Now today, association with gambling doesn't mean anything. You know, Las Vegas has got its own teams. Um, what's that port on the coast of China? Um, there's a Macau. Macau is a I don't know whether that's a country or an island or whatever it is, a part of China. But anyhow, it's a gambling cap. It's strictly gambling, nothing else. You can bet on anything. It's like people don't know this, but you can go to a sports book in Las Vegas, and you've always been able to do this. Uh, but now you could do it, on the phone or something like that. You could bet anywhere. But back in the day when it was just Las Vegas, you could go in and bet the Super Bowl, and you could bet on the player, on which, never mind, you could bet on one player, or you could bet on the player from either team, but that would say hello, mom, first, because they used to do that. Hi, mom. That would get you on television. Now I don't even think they mention their mothers half the time. But that's the. I don't know whether it's good for sports or bad. I think, first of all, I explained, I think this was yesterday, I don't know, or the day before, I was talking about the NFL. And I think they're really putting the screws to the fans because and that's why that guy went nuts, apparently. Something to do with the NFL, but I think they said he has CTE, and I think that's why he was going after the NFL. I don't know. But the thing with the NFL is that they don't care about their fans because they're taking the home game from away from the fans. All right, and that year, your season ticket costs you the same. What you do, you can go to the stadium and watch it on a big screen when they play in Europe. It's when the game's on at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I can see everybody running, getting up early to do that. Well, I know a lot of people that'll do it. I'm not one of them. I don't think I've seen any of the foreign games live, anyhow. And I pay a lot of money for my ability to watch games. It costs me $104 a year, which isn't a hell of a lot when you break it down. And I watch television, and I watch football from say 12 o'clock till 9, 10 o'clock at night. But then I'm starting to figure I don't need that much anymore. None of my teams are going to be that good this year, or worthwhile watching. You pick a game, a 1 o'clock game to watch, and if it's no good, you're screwed. You just wasted, whatever it breaks down to per game. But it's an expensive proposition. It's like baseball is like if you take two kids and two parents go to a game, and you're looking at one parent and one kid go to a game, and when you take it, if you go separate cars, you're taking your transportation costs and everything. It's going to cost you around over $200 to go to a game. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of money. When I used to go to baseball games, we drove in. We used to pay a cop $10 or whatever to leave the car alone, and the cop would leave the car alone so long as it was gone right after the game. And we would go out and scalp a ticket. I mean, the so-called Pine Tar game where Brett went nuts, which I was at, and I was sitting, and I think I have a picture of it, 10 rows or something back off of behind the dugout, the Yankee dugout, and I got in for cost, whatever the guy paid for the game. That's what I paid, and were paying, $200, $300 a ticket when the ticket was like $15, $20. We paid like, I think, $50 for the two of us to see the game. And it turned out to be an unbelievable game, one that's, in the history books. So that way, it worked out. Doesn't always do that, but that's how I would go to the game. You know, um, we didn't go all the time. We picked and chose our games. My friend and I, who's still a big Yankee fan. I was never a big Yankee fan. I was a Dodgers and Giants fan from the old days. I'm not a Mets fan either. So, but the today it's the average citizen, the guy that, you see the pictures of these kids and whatnot sitting in the bleachers and whatnot in the Yankee days, and running up to Babe Ruth and all that. These kids that, barely had enough money. It was 50 cents or something back then. That was a lot of money to a young boy back then. But they would hustle for a week to go to a game on a Sunday or whenever. You don't see that anymore. You don't see, it's all about the upper class now. The average Joe doesn't get a chance. Giant Stadium, even the regular seats, not the, they were are full of celebrities and whatnot, people that uh, have had the seats since before the Giants had won a Super Bowl or something like that. The seats got more expensive. They've had them for years, and they have money. They've earned the money to pay for them, and they sit in the seats. And they don't mind freezing their ass off. They don't like they're true football fans. There's not a lot of true football fans that can afford to go to a football game anymore. And what you see is if when the team is bad, the crowds change. People sell their tickets dirt cheap because they don't want to go. But that's another story. But sporting events are very, very expensive. Golf is a very expensive hobby. You can go to a public course. And my friend was a greenskeeper on a public course. But you want to play at a decent time, you got to be there, or you got to be on the phone at 4:00 in the morning trying to get a reservation, and then you have to be there on time. God forbid there's a traffic jam or something like that, and I don't like it's like where I have to be there at a certain time to compete. I liked it when my friends and I would go play football or basketball or baseball or whatever. We just go. That kid attitude. That's what I liked about sports. We could just go and watch or play or do whatever. You can't do that anymore. Before I left New Jersey, the leagues, softball leagues, the bar softball leagues, and everything like that. You had to make a reservation, and it cost you $20, whatever it was, to go use the park. And they had all these unused fields. That the schools around there had huge fields around them. It was like a country school. They had couple of three baseball fields, that they could use. But if you went out and played on them, the cops came and chased you away. You couldn't play. You just couldn't go play like you did when I was a kid. And I got very disappointed with that. I was very disillusioned by that. I said, how do people become sports fans? You know, I had friends. I don't ever remember doing this, but I you know friends of mine used to sneak into baseball games every once in a while or something like that. Or try to sneak into a basketball game. Oh, I got better seat. I had seats, but I would get improved seats or better seats by paying an usher in a hockey game. Because there wasn't that crowded. And the hockey games had the best looking women, though. Wow. But I couldn't afford to go to what I was making then. Then I couldn't afford to go to the games now. You're talking about when you talk about $200, that's a lot of money to spend on 2 or 3 hours of so-called entertainment. You know, and you can get. There's no guarantee you won't get spit on or popcorn in your hair or anything else, or that you're going to see a great game, even if it's a Super Bowl. There's no guarantee. Super Bowl tickets are ridiculously priced, and most of my friends and I did it when I had tickets one year. They were given to me. I sold them. I sold my tickets on the plane to California to watch the game, and then I watched the game on television. Great, no, you get a better view. Because if you go to the Coliseum and you sit and you've got seats at the top of the Coliseum, first of all, that's why people piss over the walls, because the men's rooms are all the way down at the bottom. And I'm sure the stadiums have changed. I don't think they play the Super Bowl in the Coliseum anymore. But you needed a TV set, to see the game. You couldn't watch it from up there. It looked like ants playing. And that's what it looks like. Giant Stadium was the same way when I went, you know. And even when I had seats in the 50-yard line, it was horrible. Because if people stood up in front of you, you had to stand up. Otherwise, you didn't get to see anything. If you're really the people that are down on the ground level think they have great seats. Yeah, if you want to yell at people, because the players are standing, you can't see shit if you're behind the bench. But people pay a lot of money for those 50-yard line seats. I wouldn't pay for them. You can't. It used to be you could go up a little higher and you could see the game good. You see the whole field and whatnot, and you could watch the plays develop, and you could listen to it on television. You could have the sound from the television listening in your ear. And you're trying to figure out which one this guy's watching. But I get so tired of talking about Trump. Because nobody believes it. Nobody listens. I have no idea what's going on now. It just sent me a message saying that more than one ingestion is using the primary URL, send one stream to the primary ingestion URL and one stream to a backup URL. I have no idea what that means. Probably means that you're not going to see this live. But anyhow, listen, do me a favor, go out and subscribe to my videos and whatnot, and we'll see what happens there. I do videos every day, and it's I post them, and it's almost the same thing. Because as I watch when I do live videos, I guess I used to get a lot of people watching them back a long time ago, but I don't anymore. So it's better. I get more people that will pick out the video and watch it. So let's try it that way. Anyhow, I don't know what this error message means, and I've never seen this before. I didn't know I had a backup URL. Jesus. All right, listen. That's it. So subscribe. If you're seeing this, please subscribe to my channel. You'll get this video once a week sometimes, and but you'll get I uh, videos on a daily basis. They're about 15 minutes long. Live ones are about 30 minutes or longer, because it takes a while for people to find me. But they didn't find me today, so I don't know whether I'll keep this up or not. I think I'll just go back to doing what I was doing and see what happens. Anyhow, subscribe to my channel. All right, you get to see the old man with his gut trying to make sense of something. All right, have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow if you check my videos out on my channel.